Hello and welcome to Long Road. My name is Chris Cope. I'm Head of Sport, PE and Healthcare at the college, and my role today, along with my colleague Tim Whittaker, is to give you an introduction to the summer work for both A-level PE and for the Sport Applied course. And we're going to do that in a reasonable amount of detail because, as we all know, you may be at home and may not be able to come into the college before you actually visit it in September. So over to my colleague Tim Whittaker.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, hi, I'm Tim. So as Chris said there, I'm one of the sports teachers, but I'm also a head of studies. So my job is to not only sort of help teach the sport there, but it's to look at the whole of your course, your other two subjects, and to make sure that you enjoy the next 2 years and get the best out of those 2 years. Back to Chris.
So the aim of the video is to try and ensure that you get the very best possible opportunity to complete the summer work to the very best of your ability. It's the first piece of work you'll do, and first piece of work that many of your members of staff will see, so it's really important that you do it as well as you possibly can. There are going to be 4 parts to the summer work for PE and Sport Applied, and we're going to run through each of the 4 parts in detail so there's no confusion whatsoever. You'll receive summer work in each of the subjects that you do at Long Road. And I'm going to pass over to Tim in a few moments' time to explain why this summer work is so important for you and also for us as members of staff. So Tim, it's back over to you.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, indeed, that summer work's really key for you to sort of look at doing. Take your time over it. There's no rush here. Make sure you have a look at it, you understand it, and all that sort of stuff. It's preparation for your new courses. You're going to be researching and planning for those future studies. It's going to allow you, as Chris said, to impress your new teachers. That's what it's about. We want you to enjoy it and we want you to get the most out of it. So let's see how we get on.
Hello again. We're going to run through the summer work in a little bit more detail, and to give you a sort of feel of the sort of thing we're after, I'm just going to show you a very, very short video.
And bones and bones and dancing bones and bones and bones and dancing bones and bones and bones and dancing bones, doing skeleton dance.
Obviously, you'll probably worked out it's not quite as easy A-level as the video suggested, but the reason why we ran that is to let you know that the basic idea of the summer work is that it will base itself on the skeletal system and the muscular system, which is what we think that you're likely to have covered in some depth at either GCSE PE level or through your BTEC sport course. And one of the key things with the summer work we're trying to do within the department is for you to build upon prior knowledge, both that you bring with you to the summer work and also throughout the summer work. So let's get to the crux of the matter. Let's go through that summer work in some detail now. So I'm going to pass over to my colleague Tim, and he's going to go through part 1 of the summer work with you. Thank you.
And let's recap what Chris has just said there. We need to get off to a flying start on this. So let's get going. Remember, we're building on your previous knowledge here. So this is good. We're going to start with part 1, and Chris is going to explain it to you. Chris.
Okay, so part 1 is going to look at joints, and we've identified a series of joints that are important for both PE and Sport Applied down this side of the course. You don't need to worry about whether it's so clear on the video because you will have your summer work that's printed off, and the summer work will look like this when you print it off, and each part will be clearly identified within the summer work. First part, very, very nice and straightforward. It's essentially looking at joints. So I've got an example of a joint here. This is the elbow joint, one of the joints that they use for A-level PE and for the Sport Applied. And to try and get you to do as we said before, to build on that previous knowledge, we're going to start you off with a relatively straightforward task. For each of the 6 joints behind me that haven't yet been answered, we're going to ask you to identify the type of joint that each one is, and then secondly to identify the articulating bones that make up that joint. Now you may or may not have come across the term articulating bones before, but if you're not quite sure what an articulating bone is, that essentially means one of the bones that moves within the joint. So the articulation is really sort of a posh name for a joint. Now you'll see from behind me that we've done one for you. So the trunk is a cartilaginous joint and it's made up of the articulating bones of the vertebrae. The first part of the summer work is to identify the 6 other joints that we've named down here. So you tell me what the joint type is and you tell me the articulating bones. You might well be stuck at home along with the rest of us during the summer. We don't really know at the point of doing the video. But you can watch a James Morris video. There's an electronic link on the summer work that will help you with both parts 1 and part 2 of the summer work. It will give you all the information that you need. So that's the very first part. Tim's now going to come back in and tell you how we're going to build upon what you've done for part 1 into part 2. Thank you.
So what's part 2 about then? It's the new section. It's about the joint definitions. There's 9 different joint definitions we're going to look at, and we're going to build on our prior knowledge there from part 1 and look to see if we can identify the relevant joint movements that take place at the 6 joints that are identified there from part 1. Let's see if we can do that. Have a go.
What about part 3? A little bit more difficult now, so each part is adding and building on the previous knowledge. So this section introduces the term the agonist muscle. Okay, I'll just find the appropriate prop for this, but you'll see the leg muscle here, various muscles throughout the legs. You'll probably know these as the quadriceps, and you may, for example, know the muscles at the back of the leg as the hamstrings, and the gastrocnemius and the soleus here. So, the slight difference for A level is that you will need a little bit more detail about muscle names, and there'll be a number of muscles that you haven't covered at GCSE that you will need to cover at A level. So part 3, the agonist muscle is the muscle that causes the movement at the joint to take place. You'll build on your previous knowledge by looking at the joint type, the articulating bones, the joint movement, and then you will identify a series of agonist muscles, the muscles that bring about the movement, also known as the prime mover. Now, to help you with this task, there's a second James Morris video. You'll see that second James Morris video identified in the summer notes, and there's an electronic hyperlink to it. Once you watch through that video and you look at each of the joints in that video, you will, when you watch through it sufficiently, you'll be able to identify and name the agonist muscles, which I then want you to complete in the column here, and that will then be part 3 completed. I'm passing back to my colleague Tim. He will talk you through the very final part, part 4 of the summer work. Thanks again.
So we're on to part 4 of the summer work. Now we're going to look at applying all of this theory and put it into practice by looking at different sporting movements. There's 4 to look at. We've already done the sit-ups for you, and you'll know the other movements as well, and then you'll know how to also fill in the missing sort of columns. We've got vertical jumps, as you can see here. We've got the bench press, and we've got the bicep curl for you to fill in. This is what we want you to do now. We want you to look at the joint movements, remember, and simply complete the sections at the point that the picture has been taken. So at that point is when you're going to tell us what the joint movements are. Okay? Nice and simple. Enjoy it. I'm sure you'll all be able to do it. I'm looking forward to seeing the work come in the summer. But if you want to do some extra work, Chris has got something for you.
Okay, so what we decided to do this year, and this isn't just for PE and for sport, a number of the other subjects will also be incorporating the same possibility. As we said before, we might have a little bit of time on our hands, and if you are a student that wants to keep busy and wants to prepare themselves as well as possible for the time at Long Road, then there is an option to do some additional work, which is going to be on sports injuries. Again, you'll be able to identify that work within the summer work handout that will be given, the electronic handout. And essentially it's quite straightforward. You're going to look at a number of common injuries in sport, and you can look at the treatment and rehabilitation for those injuries. Again, it particularly links to Area 1 for PE, and it links to a unit that we hope to deliver in the second year of the Sport Applied course. So, that's optional. Do it if you want to do it. Obviously I'd like you to do it, but it's entirely up to you, and you won't be, if you don't wish to do it, there's absolutely no problem. We'd like to thank you very much for listening to the video, and wish you the very best over summer. Keep yourself fit and healthy, and hopefully you'll come to Long Road and we'll be able to teach you in September.
Looking forward to seeing you then.
Yeah.
Thank you now.
Many thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.